All right. So today's video, we want to dive in the Zoho CRM, and the idea of this demo is to show you and make you understand how best this system works and how you can utilize it in a most practical way. In a most practical way. So currently, what you're seeing, this is the Zoho CRM, as you can see here, Zoho CRM. So what simply means is that the system is built in this same function. You can see this column view that's starting from here down to this section, and you can see each of these columns opens up an interface here. So that's how the system is built. So what we are currently looking at, this is what we call the dashboard. And this is the dashboard that particularly relates to your individual, what you put into the system, because there are two main categories of users in the system. We have the admin user and a standard user. So admin user gets to see everything. Standard users gets to see what they input, their own record. So currently, this is a dashboard. So I'm posing as a user, a normal user. So on each normal user's dashboard, this is what they see. They get to see their open tags. These are tags that have been assigned to them, the ones that are open. Untouched deals, that's the businesses in terms of money, the value that they created. The untouched deals will be listed here. My calls for today, they get to see that here, and also my leads. So this is a representation of what they need to do. Now, if you go all the way down, let's go the way down. So you notice my open tags, all the section here, these are tags that are open for this particular user to execute. So as you can see, these tags were assigned to this user either by a different team member. So all you can also scroll in between like this to understand these tags. These are your tags. Then these are your meetings as well. For each user, they get to see their meetings and the deadlines for each of this meeting, right? So if you notice, there's this icon here. This simply means it helps you to be able to personalize how the view looks. You can personalize your view, although we don't want to go too deep into this because these are part of customization. But let me just show you one of here so you understand how it works for others. So for instance, now let's cancel this. If you notice under this My Open Tags, let's say these are the major parameters: subject, due date, status, related to contact. So if you select this section here, this gives you an opportunity to modify this report. So you can say, okay, I want to see who created this tax, not tax owner, who created the tax, that the people who created the tax. You can select this and you click on save. So what happens is that the system populates in real time. So if we go all the way down, we can see created by, these are the people who created this report. And let's say if you notice, we had to scroll all the way down to get our created by. So we want to make the created by come under the subject place. So you still go back there. So we're only going to touch on this customization tweak only on this one. So once you get this, you understand how it works for all other ones. So if you notice, this is the created by, you can simply drag it all the way to the top. So you've noticed there's an asterisk here. It means that this one, you can't touch it. Zoho has made this like okay, yeah, you take it up. So this asterisk means this is more of like a compulsory field. So let's take it up. We can pin it and we can click on save. So ideally, right, this is how you modify records in the system. Now you can see created by comes first, just based on your own preference for each user. So that same thing applies to all other sections here. You notice you can do the same thing here. So going back to the dashboard, we have my meetings here. You get to see your total meetings, the leads generated, you added for this lead. These are only your reports as a user. Then your deals closing. That's why we see my deals closing. So you get to see all the deals that are closing. And other important information here, my pipeline deal by stage. So we've not really created a pipeline. So you get to see those pipeline too by stages. So this is a comprehensive overview of how each team member gets to stay up to date, leveraging on the Zoho dashboard for them. Now, the last thing I want to touch on this dashboard before we move on to the next. So if you notice on each of these parameters, like my open deal, my calls for today, and my untouched deal, we have a total of 1 here. So this icon is for you to refresh this. That's in case there is a new update, a new deal that has been added, you can quickly refresh from here. But for this case, let's say we want to play with this my deal. Now, if you notice, we click here. Now we have a total of 9. So you can also come into this section here. Okay, we don't want to go that route. Now the system is telling us we have total leads of 9. So you can click on these numbers. All these are clickable. So let's click on this. Now you notice we have a total list of the total 9 leads that the system already informed us we have. Now we see this reporting format is a bit just straightforward. Now we only have the lead name and the created time. So in the Zoho CRM, whenever you see an icon like this, shows you there's an option for you to personalize your visual. So you can click into this, right? So what this means, the same thing I explained earlier, you can customize this. Now we want to see who are the lead source, who created this, how is this lead coming into the business? So we select lead source. Now we save this. We also want to see who are the lead owners, who owns these leads, right? And we click on save. So what happens is that the system personalized this for our own understanding. Now, not only do I have a lead source, I can understand that, yes, this lead was created at this time. This lead was created from this source, and this lead, these are the owners. And you can also export this on any way you would want to. So I had to take time to touch this because these are important places, because the thing is that nobody can do this from even the super admin can't do this and populate across all departments. So each user needs to know how to manipulate the visuals and do this on their own end. Because why super admin can't do this and publish for all? Because people preference are different. We all have our takes. So that's why each user has to do this from their own end. So that's for the dashboard interface for the CRM. Now, still on the dashboard, now what I just showed you is the standard user. I know I made mention we have the admin and standard. So a standard normal user gets to see only their records and their tags. Now, if your account, if you've been given the approval or an access as an admin, automatically this section here, once you click here, you can now toggle in between dashboard, because as an admin, you can switch as a user where you get to see only your records, and you can switch back to the admin, which you can call like the God mode. You see everything. So you switch back to manager's home. So what happens? The dashboard changes entirely and you get to see a more robust data. Now you're seeing in a God mode way as an admin. Now you see the total deals that has been created for the organization is 12, but the other one you saw 9. Now, if you notice the revenue generated for this month, you get to see that here as well. Deals that are closing this month, you also get to see that here. Overdue tax, this is not only your tax, but tax spread across team members. You get to see that here. So the idea of this now is that you can click into this numbers. It's clickable. You just click into it. System opens, and you can still do, like I showed you here, you can customize this based on your own preference. Now we want to see the owners of these deals, right? Who are the deals owner? Okay, it's already added. So you get to see those deal owner here. So this is for the admin reporting. Now the system also populates this in real time, whereby the system gives you a quarterly based analysis based on the real business calendar, depending on your own location. For this video, right, based on our current location, we are officially in the Q3 quarter in a year. So the system calculates this for you in real time. It populates real time. So if you're beginning of the year, you're going to see Q1, the Q2, Q3, and the Q4. So now you can see leads created. You know that this is 9, and you can also click into it. Like I explained, the system comes up. You can visualize the data and make it your own preference. But the thing is that all this data you're seeing is not just for you, but you're seeing it based on organization view. You get to see all team members. So you also get a report in terms of the anomaly in leads creation this quarter. You get to see leads by source this month. Okay, let me explain what anomaly means in the lead creation. It means some discrepancies that happen during the process of creating a lead. System can, over time, the system gets to notice. For instance, if someone creates a lead and over time delete the lead. Maybe doing some, those things that can happen. You were creating a lead, you deleted the lead because of an error. If this same pattern occurs multiple times, system picks it up. Another thing you can look at is, so that's just the idea of what the anomaly means in lead creation. So those discrepancies or those tweaks that can happen during the process of lead creation. That's what anomaly in leads. Now, like I said, the leads by source, this is for this month. You get to spool this and you see the top sources that are bringing in the leads. And also this, you're seeing advertising online store code. So for each organization, you can customize this. We can customize this as Zoho partners to your own preference, right? It means we can customize this to your own preference. So for some companies, it can be cold call, it could be email, it could be your website. So we customize that. And on each lead being created, they fill in those right parameters. So that's the same thing for anomaly in deals closure. The same thing, those discrepancies that happen during deal closure, right? So you get to pick, the system can pick that for you. Now we have pipeline by stages. You get to see all the pipeline by stage. You get to see the top 10 open deals this month. So I might just stop here and move to the next because I believe you get the idea. So these are different parameters of how you can get your leads, how the system populates reports for the admin. So moving on, let us move away from the dashboard because we are still on the home, because this is the home section that gives us this. So let us switch back to our typical user interface. Okay, so we're done with the dashboard. Now let us move on to reports. So in the same format, reports simply gives us, the Zoho system CRM gives us different reporting formats to get data from, like guest report. A good system should always give us good reports. So for instance, we have the deal report. The deal report means once you select, these are based on classification, right? But if you're using the first time, you just click on all reports. By default, the system will just select all reports. It gives you all the reports mixed together. But if you would want to get them based on parameters, based on categories, because we can say we have right here account and contact reports. So once you select this, you're only going to see reports that are related to account and contact reports. Select deal, you see only reports that are related to deals, right? So let's select deals, because I always like selecting deals because this is where the money is. They say where the number is, that's where the money is. So the deal report here, so you get to see stages versus deal report type. All you just need to do, click in the deal. The system is going to break it down and show you, because the idea of this is the stage of each deal and the deal type. So you look at the stages here and look at the deal. The stage means the pipeline, where those stages, let's say your close one, still in negotiation, need analysis. So these are the stages and the types, right? So you notice this is the amount you can say for under the stage of need analysis, right? This is the total amount we notice falls under that particular type. So that's the idea of this. And because we don't want to make this so complex, you can also go back and edit this report to fit your own taste. But this is more advanced level, so no need for this. So let's go back. So that's how the report populates for orders. So sales this month, you can also spool this up. The system is going to populate to show you the deals that has closed for this particular month. So you can see it shows you this. So let us go back. So this is just an example of how this works, and you can select for different modules. So let's select for lead. We get to see lead by ownership. This is for you to know your top team members that are bringing in the more prospects. Right, so you can say, because we only have one user in this account, so that's why you see the lead owner, it is tagged as this particular user, which is Techcom Africa, your authorized Best Zoho implementation partner. So you notice this Techcom is highlighted here, and this simply means for all these leads were created by Techcom, which is a user. But if you have multiple users, they will be segmented and arranged. You can also edit, like I said, but advanced. So the same thing applies here. You want to see the leads that your most leads, the leads by sources. You get to see advertisements. We've been able to get like 2 leads from here. cold call, we have this person, external referral, this. So that's the idea of this. So moving out from the reports, so we have the analytics. Analytics, okay, let me go back to report. There's something I need to touch. So the major thing I wanted to show you is that for each of the reports, you can export them out of the system, either in CSV or in Excel file. So I wanted to touch, just show you that so you see that. So on the section here, you can just click on exports to export each of the reports. So moving on. So we are now at analytics. So analytics is pretty straightforward. Unlike reports that shows you a spreadsheet format, but analytics gives you a display, a dashboard, right? Categorizing each areas of that's each parameters of your business. And like I explained, right? For an admin user, when you go to analytics, it's going to show you an overview of everything that happens in the business. So as you can see, leads for this month, all these numbers are clickable for you to be able to make your preference, like I explained earlier, to customize it based on your choice. So that's for that. So analytics is pretty straightforward. So you get to see a more graphical representation of the reports. So that's for the analytics. And moving on, we have my request. So my request is because for me to explain my request for you to, or you understand. So there is a feature in the Zoho CRM which is called CRM team space. So how this works is that you get to create different team space for each department. Let's say your organization, you have accounting team, you have sales team, and you have project team. 3 teams. So team spaces means each of these users can collaborate and they are accessing different modules, meaning that for the finance team, all this information, the ones that are not needed for them, they can be removed, because if you notice on this section, you see we have so many modules right here. So what TeamSpace helps is to help to reduce some of the things some team members won't be working with. So the modules that team members won't work with, you can take it out and they only focus on what they need to click on. So, at that point, they are both separated. So this is where my request comes in. If there is a request, let's say finance team wants something to be done in terms of the organization. So that is where you can create, you just need to be added as a requester. And once you've been added as a requester, you can click make a request. And this works across TeamSpace. So the idea of this my request is it is built for cross communication for twins, for teams that are not really seated together. So that's how this works. So my agent, we won't be touching more on this. This is because Zoho has its own chatbot, which is called Zia, right? So this helps you can deploy your own agents, meaning you can build your own agents, or you can use Zia's main agent, because that's Zoho's agent. And the idea of this agent is just to help you and guide you on how best to use the system. Like, think of it like a typical ChatGPT, but not a ChatGPT that knows all, but a ChatGPT that only knows your data because it sits in your local repository. So that simply means that it is mainly your data that can give you analytics prediction on your invoices and give you best time to message clients. So that's the idea of the agent, right? Or you can also hire already built agents. It has its own marketplace you can purchase on this, but we don't want to dwell more on it because this is a bit diverse, right? So that's for the agent. So moving on, I want to quickly explain the core pillars in using a CRM. And this is where we are going to dwell the most, because if you don't understand this, using the CRM there's going to be a challenge there. So the first thing, we have the sales module, right? The sales module comprises of leads, contacts, accounts, and deals. So most times, these are more of like the most important modules you would work with using the CRM. So this is where we're going to spend much time. So the lead, as the word sounds, lead, these are prospects that are not qualified to do business with you. You just met them and you just collected their data and you're trying to make them do businesses with you. So those people are classified leads, or you think of it as your prospect. So prospects are leads. So this is a module whereby you list all your leads, right? So let's say you have any form of how you generate leads, you scrape leads from the internet, or you have someone who sells leads to you. So the ideal place to put all those contacts is inside the lead, right? So because you're going to initiate marketing, you're going to initiate promotional marketing to these guys in order to make them see value in what you're offering. So those are leads. As you can see, you can quickly create a lead here and just list the major things you would want. Like let's say you went to an event, you met a prospect, you just have the business card. So those informations you're able to gather, you can quickly put here. But the key thing is that these areas you see asterisks like red, these are you must fill them. And one thing about the lead, what you're seeing here is just the default list, the default module that Zoho has provided. You can customize this to fit your own preference, meaning you can move things around here. For instance, a typical example, let's say you don't like the fact that it was named lead owner. You want to add another option here whereby you can put, let's say, document owner. So you can create extra fields here and customize this. So this is pretty much acceptable in Zoho CRM. That's why it's very, very customizable and flexible. So that's for the lead module here. And also, dwelling on the lead module here, these are all the leads we have here. So we can click into any of the lead, right? So once you click into the lead, let's say you want to move leads from different phases, right? Let's say this particular lead, you met this person, you met Carissa in an event, and after the event, you collected her number. But this is what this simply means. The next day you contacted Carissa, so you can just click on contacted, meaning you've already contacted Carissa. So these are just stages on how you can update your lead till when it is ready to do business. Let's say after 1 week, you called Carissa again. And at that point, now let me give you a practical example. So this is a lead you collected from an event, right? So you've already listed the lead into your system. Now, if you notice, we have a section we call related list. Now, you spoke with Carissa, but you're trying to sell a particular product to her. Let's say you're trying to sell your consulting service to Carissa when it comes to digital transformation. Now, Carissa told you, okay, give me a call next week. Let us discuss on how best we can come to an agreement on this particular deal. So these are what we call related lists in Zoho CRM. They help you to stay updated and create tags, attach documents. So let's say you already have the business card of Carissa. An attachment section here helps you to quickly attach that document, the business card. You can take a picture, upload it here, or Carissa sent you any requirement information document. You can also upload it here. Now, let's say you want to create a tax for Carissa because she said you should call her next week. So you can set a tax right here. You create a tax and you can say follow up call for business. Right? So the idea of what we're doing here simply means you're setting up a task. So what's the date for this? We said next week, Tuesday. You can select Tuesday. The priority, you can set it as any amount. It depends on your own preference. Now, you have this owner section here. For instance, this is a section that allows you to assign this task to someone else, but you're creating this task for yourself, so you can select yourself. But if you want someone else to do this task, you can assign it to them. But for this, we are setting this task for ourselves. If you want a reminder, you can set up a reminder here. And the system also gives you an alert function, meaning you can select pop-up, but this works best if you would want to receive the reminder as an email and also as a push notification or pop-up, because the CRM also works on your device. You can sign in. So once the pop-up comes up, you see it as your normal push notification, right? So this is a reminder. You've set a reminder. If you want this task to be repeated across, let's say this is a one-time task, so this is where you can set it. Or if you want this a recurring task. So these are just options you can utilize based on your scenario. At this point, you can just click on save. So automatically we have created a task, and this task starts populating right here. You notice these are our open activities, tasks that are open, meetings, open calls, and the rest. Now, after we've arranged this call, now, okay, so what other thing here? We also have a note section here. So what notes? Note is like a communication thread. And where if you have different team members, right? The best scenario to use notes is, let's say after you've sent this, you've set this task for this particular client to call them by next week. And you also want to include one of your team member to also collaborate with you on this client, right? So that is where you can share this contact with your team member, right? So you can also share the lead. So that those are more of like permission. But the idea of this is that once you're done at this section here, Note works in a way whereby you can write notes just to follow up on this thread. You can say, you want to tag someone else, your manager, you can also add them here. Just by typing their name, you can tag them. So that's the idea of notes here. And if you want to add like a picture or a document, you can also attach that note right here. So that is how the note works. And this is more of like a thread. Just think of it as a thread. I will just say your X thread for you to communicate. And once you save this, it starts leaving a thread on the communication section here. You see, I just sent this. So this, my team member that I tagged, we also see this information. And from their own end, they can also respond. And we can have like an email thread. Just call it your email thread. We see the communication here. And let's say after that meeting, if you notice I'm taking much time to explain this because this is the logic. And once you get this same section, it applies to all departments. It applies to all contacts, accounts, and deals. So once you're done with this, the next thing we can say, next week we met with Carissa and we start negotiating on a deal, and we are looking at a deal of, let's say, 5K. So what we need to do at this point, since we now have a monetary value of a lead, of this lead, automatically this lead should no longer be a lead. It is now a real prospect, a business. So the system gives us an option to quickly move, rather than coming back to create a contact, an account, a deal. With one click here, we can bypass this whole process, right? So you can just click on, okay, you can send emails right from the system here, or we want to do our conversion. We want to convert because this lead is ready and wants to move forward with us. So you can click on the convert button here. So once you click on the convert button, you notice the system is going to create all this other record for us just with one click. So the first thing, the system is already prompting us that we want to create a new account for this particular person, right? So this is the account. Create a new, so an account means the company Carissa works in, because Carissa is just a lead. So the company she works for, that is the account, right? So create a new contact. This is her contact. So the initial lead, which is Carissa Kidman, this lead will be created into a contact and an account. And because we already have a deal in pipeline, we can click on this to create the deal immediately, right? So this is the amount of the deal, right? As a salesperson, you can add the amount here. Now look at the deal name. You can modify this Okay, so you can modify this deal name. So this is the deal name. When is this deal supposed to close? Ideally, right, you just put a time frame and you can always change this at any point. So now this stage section here helps us to understand where this business is currently in our pipeline. So this pipeline, you can also modify this based on your own preference. It is not a one-way thing. So it's very flexible. You can create, because every organization, most people create their own pipeline. So let's say we've already had the meeting. We've already passed the phase of need analysis. I know what she needs. Value proposition. We've already explained to her what our service can do, and she's ready. We've already identified decision maker because she is the right person we are talking to. She's the CEO of the company. Proposal, price quote. Let's say we've already sent her the proposal. Now we are currently waiting at negotiation and for her to give us a final answer. So that's how we can quickly create this, and what you just click on convert. So automatically this lead that this record we only had then as a lead, an account has been created for this lead, which is what you're seeing here, an account, right? Now a contact has also been created for this lead, which is what you're seeing as a contact. Now the deal we just created, this is the deal module. So I had to go through this route for you to understand that there is no one way around this, and scenarios differ. Now you notice from this one lead, we've been able to create all this necessary information for this contact. So now, still on this, let me now explain to you how this works. So contact is your database, your already customers, your contact people in a company that they are already doing business with you. They are not lead. These are your contacts. Contact is different from lead. Account, this is the company these contacts work in. Let's say your major clients, for people who are into B2B businesses, your company, the company you work with, right, which is your client, is A2 Horizon. A2 Horizon, you only know Fred, who is the CFO in A2 Horizon. So Fred, being the contact person, works in A2 Horizon, being the company. So this is how the contact and company works. So the deals means the deal you have with this company that you're currently talking to any of the contact person. And let us go into the contact module. Just like I explained, so contact module, you can add your database of your current active your clients. So they are listed here, and you can also do marketing right from this section here. So what this simply means, you can also do a mass update, or you can send mass email to leads, to your contacts actually, in terms of warming them up or giving them information on what's the new update you have in your business and services. So that's for this. And mass update is where you can select all these clients, these people, and you do, let's say you want to make a change, and that change will be populated across all the contacts you selected. Let's say you want to add a new mobile, but it depends on what you're trying to achieve. But just know there's a mass update field right here. So you can send emails, and you can also do tags. What are tags? Tags are how you can categorize your contacts. Let's say you have active contacts, right? And you have inactive contacts. So that's what tags are. So you select a tag, and what happens here is that you can now tag most of these guys as add tag is active. You save it. So that's how this works, and it's pretty straightforward, where you can quickly tag clients. And the thing is that you can, once you've tagged them, you can later filter them by tags as well, right? So what you can do, all the same thing, you can come to this section here. Also shows you how you can spool and arrange your data. So if you come back to this section here, like this is the client we just tagged. So we have a filter option here where you can quickly filter. And this option is very important as well, because for some organization, your contact list, there's a high tendency it will increase. So this is also an option whereby you can quickly filter. So you want to filter by tags. So the tag is what? Active. Now we click on apply filter. So what happens, it's going to filter all our active tags, all the ones that are active. We're going to see them here. Now the ones that are inactive, we can remove active. Now let us filter. So we also see for the inactive. So that's the idea of how this system works. So I'm just trying to show you a practical real-time scenario of how to use the system, not just like a practical demo or how you just know what the system can do, but this is how you can utilize it in real time, because the idea of this is to also ensure user adoption, which is very, very important. So that's how this interface works. And this same thing, the filter section, this applies to all other departments as well. Now that we are done with this section here, you can cancel it. So the system goes back to no filter. Now, the other thing, you notice this section here, this is a view, a way you can quickly look at your data. So the system has a list view. You just select list view. The system shows you, like, I think this is close to your spreadsheet. It has a Kanban view. So a Kanban view, it gives you more of like in a graphical representation breakdown, where you get to see everything. The ones under one criteria will be listed under that criteria. So that's how the Kanban view works. Okay, so that's for the Kanban view. Then we have the grid. But ideally, one of the best interface to work with, which is mainly, it's kind of recent, which is Zoho's most recent interface, is the custom list view. So this gives you a clear representation and a graphical. It has a very neat way of bringing out your data, and this is more of like the best way I like to use, and most people use from implementations we've done. So this is how you can go around it, and still the same way we explained, you can just manually create a contact here. Like you click on create a contact, and you can quickly create your own contacts right in the system. Okay, so okay, so you can just quickly create your contact. And the beauty of creating a contact is that now let us look at the account first. So I can explain what I want you to see. So like you remember, account, look at it as the company these people work in. So now let us pick this particular company because it's easy to remember. Okay, Chapman, right? Chapman, this is a company. So remember your list view, your views. This is already in list. So we can just come back here, change it to a custom list view. Right? So we already have a particular company in mind, which is called Chapman. So now let's go back into our contact. So you see how this connects. I met another person who works in the same company, Chapman. But I want to quickly, let's say the first contact I was following up with. Okay, so that's Simeon. This particular contact, Simeon, he works in Chapman, this company, he works in Chapman. But I've been following up with him to get a feedback or to get a business deal. But for some reason, he's not responding to me. Now I went for another event and I met let's say I met the CEO in the same company, Chapman. So let us create and add him into our CRM. So that's how we can quickly add this particular, the CEO we just connected with. So this helps you to understand that in an account, which is company, you can have multiple contacts. So now the CEO we met is Promise. So under the accounts name section here, we can quickly search for the company, which is Chapman. Right? So we can tag the company. But for some cases, right, whereby you can't remember, you just need to click on this icon here. So once you click on this icon, it's going to give us a full drop down of all the companies listed in the system. And with that, we just select the particular company we are looking for. right? So as you can see, this is Chapman. We select Chapman. So we are creating another contact who is the CEO in Chapman. So the title of this is the, okay. Now, if you have the CEO's number, you can add, I'm just putting a random number here. Okay, so at this point, we can save this. So this is how you see how the contact works. 3, you can have different contacts associated with one account, right? So now look at this. This is the CEO we created, and he's the new contact person we are currently speaking to in terms of a deal we are pursuing for a particular client. So that's how this works. So if you go back to the account, right? So this is the account, the company. And okay, looking at creating an account, right? So let's go to create an account. So it's always best at this section here, you can just put information that are only related to the company. If the company has its own phone number, you can add that company's phone number when creating an account, because it depends on what you're trying to achieve at the point, the time you're creating that record. Right, so you look at this, you can create the company name right here, location. If the company has a parent company, this works when you want to tag a company to another company. Now, for Chapman, we are creating a sub company, which is New IT Horizon, right? New IT Horizon is a sub company under Chapman. So let's just type Chapman here. Okay, so all the other information, you have the account number of the company, you can add it, account type, industry of the company, and all this necessary stuff. Now let's save this. So it means New Horizon is associated or affiliated with Chapman, which is the primary parent company. So that's how the system works, and that's with what I'm just showing now. So you start to see how the systems differ and how you can work with all the parameters here. So if we go back to an account, so the main company we are looking at, which is Chapman, okay. Chapman, the company. Now, this is where I want to call your attention to see how the system is connected and linked. Now, earlier I talked about related lists. So once the records are connected, you can always see them around the related list. Now, if you notice, we have one deal. It's telling us this Chapman company, we have one deal, and this is the deal that we created earlier. This is one of the deal. Now, if you go to the contacts, you see the 2 contacts we created. This is the CEO we added, and this is the other person we're trying to get a deal from, but we were not able to get across to him. Now, if you come to activities, any task that has been created on this particular account, you get to see them here. I remember I made mention about the notes, where you can also have internal communication related to this account. So this related list is the same thing that moves across the lead, the contacts, and the deals. It shows on each of the modules. So the reason why this is very, very important, it shows you how all the records are linked. Now, this is the parent company, right? Now, this is the member account, meaning accounts, like I explained, just think of it as company. So this is the secondary account, which is New Horizon, which is tagged under this particular for the team member that owns this. So that is how the system works in terms of how all records are connected. So if you just click on New Horizon, it's taking us back to still under the account module, but we are going to be interfacing with New Horizon on its own page. right? So this is New Horizons page. Now we don't have any deal for New Horizon, but one record is very, very clear here. We know that this is the parent company, which is Chapman. So that's the system. And with these scenarios that I've been able to paint and explain, it helps us to quickly understand how the lead, contacts, account, and deals works in Zoho CRM. This is very important. So I had to take time here to explain this clearly. Now, if you look at the document, all these other features here, I'm just going to skim through it because these are not primary, but these are the main place you work with and you need to understand. So the document section here, as of 2025, there's a new integration. So any new company onboarding on Zoho CRM, by default, the documents, Zoho has already integrated WorkDrive with CRM. This is a natively built integration. It is not the normal way you go to integrating it with your third-party application, whereby you go to the marketplace here and you go to Zoho, right? You go to Zoho application and you integrate this with other Zoho apps, right? Which, as you can see, so if you check from your own end, you notice WorkDrive is no longer here. That is because for the new people that will be using the Zoho CRM, it has already been integrated with WorkDrive. So Zoho CRM document is now your WorkDrive. And the beauty of this is that, for instance, and they give you a storage capacity. For instance, let me just give you a clear example. Let's say you purchase the enterprise plan and you have 28 licensed user. So what happens is that Zoho counts it as one team member. That's one license you purchase on CRM. You can get up to a gig. So if you multiply by the total number of persons, you can say 28 gig storage you get. But this differs based on the plan. So I just told you about enterprise plan. But for other people, you're not using enterprise plan, you can get like 512 MB. But the idea is that once you purchase your own license, you can just notice this section here, which is WorkDrive. You can click on Open WorkDrive. So what happens is that the system takes you into your own WorkDrive account, and from here you are able to see your storage, right? Let's go back to the admin. So what happens here is that you know the storage you've been allocated, which is free because Zoho CRM, it is now natively integrated with Zoho WorkDrive. So that is just for that. Okay, so you notice this particular account, 5 gig, that's the free storage that has been given to this account. So moving on, so that's for the document. The major place, let me give you a perfect scenario based on an account we've implemented for an organization. So let's say you want to create tutorials or you want to create trainings. So you can quickly create a team folder. As you can see, team folder, create a team folder right here. You can name this tutorials. Select the admin of this account. Admin means people that will have access to make changes, or the owner of this account. So the admin, you have the editor, people that can also make changes or even upload additional tutorials here. So the system gives you by roles and groups, but this I would not explain too much so it doesn't get overwhelming, but just take it like this. Select the users that you would want to add. The reason why you notice I cannot select a user on the editor because I've already selected it as an admin, because the system counts it based on the user counts. So meaning that an admin cannot be an editor because an admin can edit. So people that can only view, you can select them here. The same thing, you won't see that same user here because this is just one user account as a demo. But all the other users, you can select them here and you can create this team folder, which you named tutorial. So when you have informations, you can put them here. So each team member can also access this document from their own interface. So that's the beauty of the document section. So because we've already taken a longer time, we don't want this to be too long. So that's just a key explanation on how the sales work. This Zoho sales area is one of the most important, if it's the most important place you would work with. So these are the key places that can make or mar the Zoho CRM. So you just need to understand how to work around this. And let me just quickly point on key things. So activities is the same thing as your open tasks and your meetings. Just like I explained in the CRM here, when creating a lead or a deal, you notice the related list whereby you can just quickly create like an activity. So these open activities, as you can see here, this is the same thing as your activities here, which is the tasks, meetings, and calls. So what Zoho did is they gave you multiple options to quickly do things on the go. Not a scenario whereby you're already on the deal module, you want to create a task. You have to come out from this, come down to the task and create a task. So that's why you see them here. So this means that on this section here, you can just quickly create a task at any point where you are. And this helps you to organize your task. So you can create a task from the lead, you can create a task from the contact, you can create a task from account, you can create a task from deals itself. All you just need to do, click on the plus icon here. As you can see, now you're seeing tasks, meetings, calls, which is the same thing as what you're seeing here, tasks, meetings, calls. So it is the same thing, but just different ways to go around it. So that's for the activities. And also on each of the activities, still on this section, if you notice there is this icon here, you can just quickly click on this to mark a task as completed. Pretty straightforward. Mark as completed. And that's it. So that's for the tasks. Okay, let me explain this. On the email section, on each related list, you can compose emails related to this deal, and the system gives you provisions for integration with any of your email provider. Let's say you're already on Gmail, you can connect it. If you're on Microsoft, you can also connect that. So that's for the activities. We're just touching on key areas here. So this is for the activities, integrations. These are but this is third-party integrations. So price book is where you can create a price book for all your products or your services, or you can import from your already existing data. So you have products right here. You can also list your products. Quotes, you can create quotes in Zoho CRM, but based on Zoho already has a finance application, which is called Zoho Books. The quote, they did not really leverage much on this because they already have a better, robust system. But what the system does is that it allows you to connect your financial Zoho Books with Zoho CRM to create a very clean invoice, right? Because the Zoho quote and the Zoho invoice, it is not really versatile, because if I'm to show you this, the reports, if you're creating a quote, the overall look wouldn't be as what you would want or what you would prefer. So the idea of this is you can always integrate it with with the Zoho Books, right? This is how it looks. You can just see. And once you're done, you just save it. So that's the quotes. The same thing for the invoice. These are invoices. Then we have sales order, where you can raise orders based on items or services requested by a client. Then you have solution. Solution works with case, right? Case is when a case is being raised, like an issue. You can raise a case here, which is this section here. So you can raise a case, and once you raise a case, it's more of like a complaint or on a particular service. So you can see create a case, so case are feedbacks received from customers regarding issues with your product or services. So once a case is created, the solution for that case, that is why the solution module was provided. So social is where you can do your social integration with the CRM. And yes, so those are other features. But like I made mention earlier before we commence, like these are the core areas in the Zoho CRM, which is the sales module. And most times this is where you would work with the most. And it's always best to really understand how that sections works. So that was why we had to take time to explain these key areas. So that's how the system works. And lastly, what else? The next thing you need to understand is that there is also a chat space in the system whereby you can, it is like a chat interaction section where you can chat. But most times this cannot be configured in Zoho CRM. It needs to be configured on Zoho Click. So you do an integration with Zoho Click. You can bring in your team members you list your team members on Zoho Click. And once you list them on Zoho Click, then they are going to be listed here, and you can chat with them directly from the CRM. And you can also create channels, which is like a group where you can add announcements, or you can just it's like a group, just channel where you can communicate as well, right? But for this to work properly, you also need to integrate this with Zoho Click, right? So for integrations like that, we also handle that, that's one of the reasons using a partner when it comes to utilizing Zoho, because the partners, we get to understand your current business process, and we advise and also implement the system based on how your business functions. So far, so good. That is all the key things we just discussed about the Zoho CRM and how best you can utilize the system for your organization and for your businesses. Yes. Okay. So if we were to do a quick recap, so this simply means that these are the dashboard where you can create your dashboard, as we explained, the reports, the analytics, and other areas of the Zoho CRM.